Hey, me ducks, it's Simon here. How is everybody doing? It's lovely to see so many people in the chat chatting away. Welcome to everybody. It feels like it's been quite some time since I did a catching up with. It's at least, gosh, I want to say maybe 5, 6 weeks since I did a catching up with. But I'm really excited to introduce you to my guest today, who is the fabulous Shauna from the channel Six of Wands. So let's give a Hermit's Cave welcome to Shauna. Hi, Shauna. Oh, I can't hear you. I think your mic is on mute. Look, there you go.
Hi, everyone. So nice
You
to
was
see you.
you was just testing us, wasn't you? So how are you doing?
Awesome. I
Good.
went to my first live music event since March of 2020 last
Aren't
night.
they fantastic to
Yes.
go back? I went last Saturday to mine in Birmingham. There was 5,000 people in the arena. And at first it was really daunting, but then you kind of think, wow, this is great because I've been not experienced this now for a couple of years. So how was it?
It was so good. It's a Canadian rock band. They play cover tunes of Canadian classic rock songs, and the band's name is Took. So anybody in the audience today that's Canadian will know what that word means, but it's a French Canadian word for
Hey,
a
we got the
winter hat.
merch.
So
Love
now
the
I
merch.
have a Took.
Yeah.
But they're fabulous musicians. They all play professionally. The guitar player is the band leader for Shania Twain. The bass player plays drums for Slash and the Conspirators. The lead singer plays bass for Slash and the Conspirators. And then the drummer played for a Japanese band called Bees. And he's played with Yngwie Malmsteen. They're all like super pro. So it was a treat.
Wow. Yeah, that does sound like a treat.
And they're
Gerald's
all
just...
from the prairies in Canada.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. I mean, it's early where you are. You said it's like 9 a.m., which is early anyway at the weekend. But being as you went to a live concert and would have a really late night, I really appreciate you getting up and getting ready to come on and do the interview with me. So thank you.
I wouldn't miss this for anything.
I got dropped off at 1 a.m. because, well, the funny thing is, Erasure, who I went to see last weekend, usually come to Nottingham, and they weren't coming to Nottingham because they're usually at the concert hall, which takes about 1,800 people. And they're selling out arenas again now. So it was Birmingham, which was about an hour and 20 minutes drive, a little bit later coming back because you had to get out with everybody else. But they announced 2 days ago that they're coming to Nottingham. They've added extra dates and they're coming to Nottingham Ice Arena in May. So we're going again because it's like a 3 or 4 minute walk from here. So I'm really
fantastic.
excited. Yeah. So hello to everybody. I won't do individual hellos with it being a catching up with, and there's so many people here, but a collective hello to everybody in the chat.
Hello, everyone.
Obviously, people are excited to see you, Shauna, because there's loads of people here already. And yes, nice to see new and old friends join us. So now you only started your channel as in creating content last month.
That's right.
That just blows my mind because for me in particular, I've known about you for quite some time. I remember your first channel, was it Shauna Player?
Yeah.
Where you do your drums, an incredible talented drummer, by the way, everybody who's watching this. And I remember it must be a year ago, I think you sent me a message saying hi and stuff. And you sent me a link to a video where you were playing drums. And I remember just being absolutely blown away by your talent and what an amazing drummer you are. But you're somebody as well who I know quite well because you went right back to 2017 when I started a channel and was working methodically all the way through it. And it was lovely, Shauna, because you would leave a comment on each video. And sometimes I'd be like, what's that in relation to? I can't remember. So I'd end up going back into the video and watching a clip. And that helped me to see my own journey as well, by you doing that. So I feel like I've known you forever, but it is only last month since you decided to do or start a channel that's dedicated to tarot. But tell us a little bit first about yourself and what led you to that point of becoming a content creator in this sort of tarot tube corner of the internet.
Great question. So what happened was I went to a fairy conference. I know.
Fairy conference.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Baltimore, Maryland. And there was an artist there giving a talk, and they were giving a talk on the Blood Moon Tarot. It was Sam Gay, and I just fell in love with the artwork. I didn't really know much about tarot, and so I backed the Kickstarter, and it took a really long time to create the deck, so I kind of forgot about it. And then I started getting emails saying, it's final printing's gone to the printers. And I'm like, oh yeah, the tarot deck. I don't know anything about tarot. And so I started taking out books and reading. I work in a public library. I'm a customer service supervisor there. So I took out tons of books and read. And then I was like, I wonder if there's stuff about this on YouTube. And guess who I found? It was your channel.
Because I've only got that deck very recently. The creator sent it me. So what did you find when just?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I Googled. I think I just Googled tarot review or tarot meanings or something.
Oh, okay.
You came up, and then then I started watching, and now I have way too many decks. It's a problem now.
Yeah, it's kind of like a byproduct of finding this community, isn't it? To end up with your decks suddenly start to multiply all by themselves.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. Yeah, but it was a total 6 of Wands moment, because when I started watching your channel and I really got into the content and seeing all the other people that you were interviewing and catching up with and getting to know people in the community, I set in my mind, I'm going to be on Simon's channel.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Is that something you put out there?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And I should have set like a bigger goal.
You've achieved it.
Yeah, it only took a month. Now what?
That's funny.
I believe in that. If you want something, put it out there. Tell people, because the universe has a way of arranging things so that it works for you.
Absolutely.
One piece of hair that's just not behaving. I've got tangy hair today. Oh, there we go.
Tangy hair. Yeah, that's sorted. Yeah, there's a quote in my all-time favorite book, which is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And he says something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing because I'm terrible at remembering things or details, but he says something in that book about when you want something with all your heart and mind, the universe conspires to make it happen. And that for me is, the kind of the subtext to cause and effect. If you want something, you put it out there and you give it your attention, you give it your focus, you give it life, you breathe life into it, and then the universe responds.
Yeah.
I really, if I believe in anything, I believe in that.
Well, have you ever met somebody who's passionate about something and they tell you like their hope that the thing they want to do, you want to help them? There's something that just happens and you want to help them.
Yeah.
So the more people you tell.
Absolutely. And particularly when you see that it comes from a real desire, and that they had the conviction and that they'll put the determination in and meet you halfway. And that's kind of what I do for a living anyway. It's about, helping young people to achieve their aspirations. That's why I get up in the morning. So absolutely. But you can only do that if that other person has that desire, and that sort of determination. And there will be, hurdles along the way. There will be obstacles that society or other people put in your path, but they are surmountable when you've got that determination and that drive and passion for it. So,
and you have to say yes when the opportunities come. You have to take them, even if you don't feel ready. You got to do it.
But that's the scary bit, isn't it? I read a book. It was by Dawn French. I don't know if you've heard of Dawn French, but she's a comedian actor over here. Was part of a duo called French and Saunders, comedy duo. And then it's the star of things like The Vicar of Dibley. I don't know if you've seen that or anything, but Dawn French wrote a book, and it was about, the power of yes and saying yes to things. But it's really scary. It's really scary when somebody asks you to do something and it's way out of your comfort zone to say yes. But an old mentor of mine in a previous workplace once said, just say yes and then work out the detail afterwards.
I have one regret where I didn't say yes. I was invited to be a presenter at a drum festival, and I was very new to drumming. And I was like, oh, I don't feel like I'm ready to do that. I should have done it. it.
Yeah, because when are we ever really ready?
Never.
Yeah, exactly. We're always going to have, it's human nature, isn't it, to have those self-limiting kind of beliefs. And once you've got to do something because you've committed to it, then you put that effort in. You're like, right, this is happening. I better work hard. I better practice, and I better study. And so it almost kind of, forces you to take that extra step where you might not, if you haven't got something that's, fixed that you're working towards. So, Nancy says, what type of drumming?
Rock. Hard rock. Nancy. I hit hard.
Yes, you do, but wow, it's so impactful. And drums, do you ever do any sort of healing drumming? Have you done that before?
I'm interested because now that I've gotten into this community, that's definitely something I would be interested in. Yeah.
I went as a participant to a healing circle, and they did drumming. And I can remember at the time I was going through quite a lot of emotional stuff. So it wasn't, anything physical, but certainly emotional, which I needed support with. And I sat in this chair, and they drummed around me. They was walking around me, and the rhythm that they were performing just really struck a chord. But I could feel the resonance as they were walking around and hitting the drums. And I was moved to tears. I came out of that session completely changed. It was one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in a healing circle. And I've done crystal healing, I've done Reiki, but the resonance of I could feel it, right inside, and it was incredible. And I'd love. There isn't, and I've looked. There isn't anywhere in the city where I live that does it. There is somewhere quite a way out, and I could probably drive there, but it was timing and everything at the time. But I'd love to explore that more because it was so powerful. So yeah, and as somebody who's a drummer, I think you'd probably
I'd love
enjoy
it.
that. Yeah. So let's go right back then, and just to say to everybody in the chat as well, if you've got any questions that you would like me to put to Shauna during the next hour or so, then please pop them in capitals or tag me. That would be great, so that I can see them and I'll look out for them. And I should have popped this up right at the beginning as well. I am chatting today, as I said, to Shauna from the channel Six of Wands. So just before we start to talk a little bit about the channel, can you take me back to kind of what life was like for you growing up? Were there any kind of spiritual influences, or is tarot and everything? I know you said you bought a deck through the artist and appreciation of art, but were there any kind of influences growing up that you think that might still kind of had that interest that was perhaps, you know, in the subconscious, that when tarot and everything came up, you was able to connect?
Yeah, I've always been like a super imaginative, creative soul. Kind of a, I'm sure most of you in this room are the same, kind of like that outcast, doesn't quite fit in with everyone else, kind of odd, mind in the clouds type of person. I grew up Catholic, very, very staunch, strict Catholic. Went to a Catholic school with nuns teaching me and that sort of thing. For a while there, I thought I was going to be a nun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, because
Wow.
I was always had a very deep, deep spiritual connection with something. You know, I always felt that there was more to this existence. Um, and then kind of got interested in boys and girls, and then yeah, that was that was it for nun, for being a nun.
Yeah, that put
And
paid to
then
that.
I met my first husband at band camp. Oh, surprise!
Did
And
you say band camp?
band camp. Yep,
Oh, I love that. This one time at band camp?
band camp. Yeah, yeah. That gets funnier because I met my current husband at drum camp. But anyway.
Oh, wow. These camps.
Yeah, when I was 13, I met my first husband at band camp, and
Wow.
he was Mormon, and
Oh,
lost touch with him, and then went to university. And I was having coffee with a mutual friend, and she mentioned that her friend was coming back from his mission, and that he was a really good singer, and I'm like, wait a second. Is his name James, but he goes by Alex, like his middle name? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, I love him. He was my buddy at band camp. And then we ended up hanging out and got married, and we're married for 16 years. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But yeah.
wow.
So I was
Did you,
Mormon for a very long time.
I was going to say, did you convert to, so did you get married in the temple?
Um, I was a new convert, so we got married in the
Ward.
chapel. What do they call
Yeah.
it now?
Well, it's the church, or the ward, or
Church
estate.
building.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But,
haven't been in like 6 years. Yeah, we got
but
married in the church building, and then we got sealed in the temple as
sealed.
soon as I hit my year mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody watching, if you are a convert to Mormonism, you can't go to the temple for the first year. And you have to, first year after being baptized and confirmed in the church. And then you have to be at a certain, live in a certain standard to get a temple recommend to go. So then if you are in that situation, you're then sealed for time and all eternity
Yep.
in the temple at a later date.
Thanks
And
for
that's exactly,
reminding me.
that was exactly the same story. You know, I married somebody from Utah, and I was a convert. So we married, and well, over in the UK, you can't get married in the temple. No Mormon can, because over here in our old laws, the Queen, if she so wishes, should be able to attend any wedding. And because the Queen can't go into the temple because of the requirements of entering into the temple, then the law in the UK does not recognise temple marriages. So we have to get married anyway in the wards, with a registrar present, and then go to the temple later in the same day to be temple married. It's confusing.
That's kind of good though, because then all of the people who aren't worthy to go to the temple can actually see your marriage.
Yes. Yeah, because that's the other thing, isn't
That
it?
is such a sore point.
If your guests don't have a temple recommend, they can't see you get married. Yeah.
And it's really
Of course, I forgot
strict
about
getting
that.
one of those, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Wow, so that's really interesting. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but after 16 years living as a Mormon, you are living a very strict, obedient spiritual life anyway. So then when you exit that sort of lifestyle, did you feel like I did, that you had a gaping hole in the soul of not being able to fill a spiritual void, and then that take you down lots of different explorations, or? How was it for you?
I didn't have that dark night of the soul that you were experiencing. I think it's because I'm a Sagittarius. I'm such a Sagittarius. um, I don't like being told what to do or like being in an organized thing. I like to be free to explore. And so
Yeah,
I just explored and I thought about, is there a God? Or maybe there's just some sort of intelligent matter that we are all made of. Like, I really don't know. And I'm cool with that.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
and sometimes not knowing um can be quite profound anyway, and I always remember somebody said to me years ago, what would you do if you found out if there was actual proof that there is no God and nothing after death? And then I said, well, then I'd live my best life as I
Exactly.
could right here, right now, and savor every second. Um, and the counter argument is, well, there you are then, you should be doing that anyway. And I think people do. People who follow a particular religion rather than a spiritual path, a religion, some people say, well, that's fear based, but they're still living their best because they want to, but also they know or they believe in a judgment. So they're kind of, whereas people who don't have any belief, who are total atheists and believe that, um, once life is over, you're extinct, then are making the most of every moment. So I can see both sides, and they really are sort of both sides of the same coin. Um, so whichever it is, we should just focus on the moment that we have and live our best lives
Yes.
authentically now, here and
And
now. Because
do no harm. Do no harm.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, wow. So you talked us through the fact you liked a particular artist, and you bought the tarot deck, and that led you to the community. I see the design on the wall behind you,
Yeah.
which, if people are familiar with the RWS, will know in particular which card that comes from the Minor Arcana. Um, and we can see your channel name. Do you want to tell us why the Six of Wands is so important to you?
Yes. I love a challenge. I love conquering hard things. Um, but seriously, I went through a very, very difficult time this year. Um, I have an older daughter who ended up becoming schizophrenic this year. I went through my own mental health issues. My husband is a 2-time cancer survivor and had cancer fairly recently. And so I had a lot of like tower
Yeah,
moments, one
wow.
right after the other. And work was stressful as well. And I just kind of hit a breaking point and went into a really dark place. And Six of Wands is like that celebration of going through something difficult and then making it through the other side victorious.
Wow. That's and I'm so sorry that you've been through that. It's tough. I mean, collectively, we're all coming out of a really tough situation anyway, aren't we, with the state of the
Yes.
world and everything that's happening and what we've been through for the last 18 months. But to have that added pressure on. So I'm hoping things are okay now,
Things
or
are much better.
oh,
Got
that's a
lots
relief.
of therapy on medication. I'm not ashamed to tell people that. If you're
No,
suffering,
absolutely not.
get help.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My daughter got the help she needed finally. It was quite a fight to get the system to help her. She's in a mental health approved home now, so she's in a safe place where her medications are monitored. She has some freedom, but safety as well. So I feel much more comfortable. She's 20 years old, so it's really hard to get help for an adult because they
Mm,
they have say, right, because they're not your child anymore. They're an adult. And so
yeah.
yeah, hard things happen to everyone, you know, like none of us get through this without some challenges. Don't feel sorry for me. Feel happy for me because I'm working through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the attitude to have, isn't it? You know, that is what gets you through those tough times, really. Positive mental attitude really does, you know, really help. And as I've said before, you know, the mind and the body are connected, and I believe the body and the environment is connected too. So it all starts up here.
Yes.
And having that sort of that positive attitude and dealing with it mentally first, is half the battle. And yes, just to go back to what you said, absolutely, we should talk about it. There are so many people who are suffering because of stigma and not wanting to share, you know. And I still think we've got a long way to go, particularly in the arena of mental health, where people are afraid to speak out, you know, because of the stigma attached. I think it's getting better, but I still think we have a ways to go with that. So, but I loved your explanation for the Six of Wands, because I often wondered, you know, I saw your channel name and I see the, you know, the emblem behind, and I often wondered. So thank you for explaining that. So
and it's still a nice reminder when things are not so good. You know, you can get here again. Yeah. Right. It's like a motivational thing for me.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And what is a visionary victor? How would you, because you always start your videos with welcoming visionary victors. I love it, but do you want to explain why you use that as a greeting?
Well, it's alliterative, number one. I wanted to choose a word that kind of encompassed the Six of Wands energy, right? That victorious, the victory card, right? And I'm like, well, what's a word that would describe people who are spiritual, who are searching, who are prone to flights of fancy, have imaginations, are creative, visionary. So I went with visionary victors because it's, alliterative, and it kind of encompasses the flavor of the channel I'm trying to create.
Perfect. And thank you, Jackie. Jackie's put a link to Shauna's channel, and also it is in the description below. If you're watching this back, you know, you'll be able to click on the link and it will take you to Shauna's channel. And it's lovely. As I said, it's new. It's only been around since the beginning of September. But the stuff you've been putting out is really nice. I loved your tour as well, to see your space. I was like, wow, that is such a well organized space. And it just, I could have spent hours in there. It was like, oh,
that's how I feel about your whole flat.
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes it gets a little bit too much, but yeah, it's a lovely space. So if somebody is seeing you for the first time today, what can they expect if they subscribe to your channel? What sort of things do you like to do or talk about, plans to do with your channel? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I have a huge list, but I'm not going to go through that with the channel. Ain't nobody got time for that. No. I want to do more in-depth deck reviews. When I say that, I mean I want to spend more time with the deck before I present it. Not like I'm going to make a really long video about it, but I want it to be like my flavor and my thoughts after working with it. And I've got a few on the line for that. I've got some deck modifications coming up. I really like to organize and decorate my space. So I have a video about how to label your tarot bags so that you know what decks in what bag.
So cool. Do you want to just quickly tell somebody? Because it was such a simple idea. And I was like, that is really cool.
Yeah, these are the things that keep me up at night. You know, my tarot shelf is right across from my bed, and I'm looking up at it and I'm like, do I know what's in that bag? Do I know what's in that? I don't. how can I do this? How can I organize this so it's quick and easy? And I'm like, key tags. I can put key tags on the cords. And so I ordered like a bag of cheap key tags for $10 or whatever of 100. And yeah, I organized each bag, labeled each individual bag, and it's
So
awesome now. I know.
these are the key tags, aren't they? Where they're like multiple colors, plastic with a little
Yeah.
window. Yeah,
Yeah.
so simple. And then you're able, like you say, to write on them what they are and attach it to the drawstring. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. You just
the
attach it
drawstring
to
on
one side of the drawstring, and then when you draw the bag shut, it slips right up to the top of the bag and sits there.
Really clever.
It's chef's kiss, as Kelly Bear would say.
Yes. Yeah, it was really clever. And I was like, that's such a cool idea, because I do have a few bags, but I tend, for that reason, not to get them. I mean, I've got lots of Kelly Bear pouches now, and the way Kelly does hers with the trinket, I can't think of the right word.
Charm?
The charm, that's it. With the charm and the color combination for the deck, that helps,
Yes.
for me to pick it up and think, I'm just grab the first one. I know what's in here. That's got my new choice tarot de Marseille in. But I really struggled with bags, because I got to the stage like yourself a few years ago where I'd got 20 odd bags, and I'd be like, I haven't got a clue what's in that one or that one or that one. And you're looking inside, and it's almost like a lucky dip sometimes. But when you just want to grab the deck and you're thinking, now what bag's that in? So that was that was ingenious. So
yeah, I'm kind of crafty, so anything where I get to color, draw, cut things, stickers.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. I also really want to do more VRs, and one I'm super interested in is Ragged Poets, Balance the Wheel, that you did as well.
Oh wow, that's going back a bit.
Yeah, it's a really
I've
good
forgotten
one.
about that. Yeah, that was probably about 3 years ago, maybe more. Yeah. But of course, you're watching the back catalogue, so for
Yes.
you, it's probably right now.
Like days ago now.
Yeah. What is time on the internet?
Yeah, I think I freaked out Kelly Bear and Bassetti the other day because everyone was saying, hi, B, and I didn't put together that a Kelly Sunflower was her.
Oh,
And I'm like,
okay.
oh, you're the lady that took Simon to the Parliament building.
Wow, back in 2018.
Kelly's like, that was so long ago. Not for me.
Yeah, I'm still in 2018. I'm catching up.
Yes.
Just a little. Yeah. But it impressed me how quickly you got through a whole year anyway, because I was like, wow. And I think I put something like, oh, you've got the Christmas ones coming up now, or something like that, because I could see your timeline, your journey as you walk through it.
It's really fun to watch the friendships grow too, with like Becca and Kelly.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
it's
that was
really
all
neat.
around that time.
Jenna and
Yeah. And like I said, it was lovely for me because it's very nostalgic. It's very Six of Cups moment where we're looking back and all the fond memories and stuff like that. So I just saw a question from Susie Gemini. She says, will Shauna create a deck someday? Because you're a creative person.
Anything's possible. It might be like more like a oracle type. I'm a Sagittarius, systems. I say that and then I have a super organized room. So
I was going to say, you're kind of a paradox, because a lot of creative people like you are kind of tend to be like me, have stuff everywhere, and where everything is, but somebody else might come in and think it's very cluttered. But you're also super organized. When you did your room tour, I was really impressed at,
but it has to be like my system, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I might be able to do something in the RWS field, but I would like to get more experience and more knowledge before I dive in there. I want it to have lots of depth if I do it.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I suppose it's what else you can bring, isn't it? Because you know, when I've been approached or I've had discussions about things, I kind of think, well, if I ever do that, I need to be adding to something, not replicating something, you know. And you could argue that anything
Exactly.
that's being created is an addition to, but I just don't. I'd want something that's not already been done, and that's quite hard with the proliferation that we've got, particularly with tarot at the moment.
Well,
So,
I think it's Leanne Richter. I think that's her name, in Alberta. I can't remember whose live I was on, but I said maybe like a prairie deck, like something that is my lived experience, right? And she's like, yeah, I've been like making cards with like hockey sticks as wands and stuff. I'm like,
here we go. Here's that
yeah.
that
So
spark,
maybe
that
like some
initial idea.
Canadiana, Western Canada flavored thing. Because I love
Yeah,
everyday enchantment, and I've never taken the tube or been to Britain.
exactly, exactly. But you know, I was pulled up once for that, and quite rightly so, because I was saying, you know, this is so quintessentially British, and you know, we've got all these kind of, and lots of people were commenting saying, well, I live in such and such, and it's still pertinent to me, and I live here,
Yeah.
and that's it. You know, it doesn't. I've got decks from lots of different cultures and countries around the world. It doesn't mean that, you know, it's exclusively for those people.
The
So
archetypes are ubiquitous,
exactly,
right? Doesn't matter where
exactly.
you live. You
Yeah,
could live
it's
in the
just an
middle of the
expression
Amazon.
of them. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's an
Yeah.
expression of that archetype, isn't it? Yeah. So, how would you say your tastes have changed since that very first deck?
Oh man, I want them all.
Just give me.
Fine. I really, really like all different kinds of decks. I've been asked the question, what's your favorites? I cannot answer it. Like, I love so many different art styles, so many different takes on it. If it's different, if it adds something new, I want it, usually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, do you have a preference, particularly when it comes to tarot systems? Do you have a preference for RWS or Marseille, or have you started to look at other systems yet? Or
I prefer RWS. I have ordered the new Choice Tarot de Marseille, but I
oh,
don't
you
know when
have?
that will show up in Canada, when
Yeah, you
Presario will get it.
guys, you have to wait a long time in Canada for things, don't you?
Yeah.
I can remember that. Yeah. Sometimes
So
even
I'll
longer
dive
than
into that.
like Southern Hemisphere countries like Australia and New Zealand. I don't know why Canadian Post tends to be a little bit slower, but yeah. So will New Choice Tarot de Marseille be your first Marseille
Yes,
deck?
I have
Wow.
pretty much all RWS, except for Marielle kind of has that thoth flavor, and the Hrochrig Tarot is definitely a thoth deck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But I really don't have interest in learning Lenormand, only because I can't afford to get any more systems.
Not another system.
I will have no money for my retirement.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you don't, I'm not asking for numbers, you know, because I get asked that question such a lot, and I think, oh, why does it even matter? But I mean, in the time that since your first deck to now, what's your collection looking like?
I'm going to Libib.
Libib is such a cool app, though, isn't it? I just used it this afternoon to put in the ones that I got this week.
Oh, yeah. I shut off the internet on my phone so that I wouldn't mess up the stream. Okay. So, how many do I have? I think it's 50 tarot decks and 32 oracle decks.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So already 82 decks.
I have a problem. And I know you can't help me, so I'm not going to ask for help
You're
from you.
looking at the wrong person here. But I do believe that it will slow down, you know, in time.
Yes.
It will slow down. I remember my first year, it was like 150 something decks in the first year, because I felt not that I needed to play catch up, but there's so many amazing decks out there. And like you, when I found, I was telling Becca, Jen, and Elle last night, when I found Kelly Bear's channel, this is what we was talking about, I went back like you've done with me, and I watched all of Kelly's back catalogue. And then I heard about Deviant Moon, and then I heard about this deck and this deck and this deck. And I did that with a few others as well. But I guess I kind of felt that in the early stages, wow, this deck's been out for ages and this looks amazing. And I was ordering it, almost like I wanted to have a little collection.
Yeah, trying to catch up.
Trying to catch up, but then
Yeah.
at the same time, what I didn't realize was new decks were also coming on the market at quite a speed. So not only was I trying to catch up, I was also like, oh, wow. And this is a limited edition or whatever. And I was like, oh, wow, it's a limited edition. It's not going to be out forever. So, but you do get to the point, and I'm quite fortunate now because some decks are sent for review, but I probably only buy one deck a month, if
That's
that.
good.
If that, maybe not even as frequent as that now. It just depends. Sometimes there'll be a cluster of decks coming out and I tend to get them, but yeah, it does slow right down compared to what, 12 decks a month, I think, in the first year.
Yeah, I feel
But
that.
anyway.
I get the side eye from my husband a lot when the doorbell rings.
Do you? You've not found an alternative address to send the packages
things are starting to go to my work.
That's funny. Jen's explaining lie, babe, and let Jen explain it rather than me. She's really good at these things. So yeah, a book tracking app.
It's a lifesaver.
You can put any categories in. You can call one category Oracle, you can call one Lenormand, and you go to each one and you can barcode scan, and it puts the information in. If it's indie, you do it manually and you just type out the information, which can be a pain if you get the app a couple of years along the line and you've got quite a few decks that you've got to type in. But once you're on top of it, it's great. So now a deck will come and I'll just bleep it and it's there in the library. But then, of course, it tells you the numbers, which isn't always a good thing. You can't fudge it and say, oh, I think I've got somewhere around. You know the exact number when it's there on your library app.
Keeps you accountable, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't get a chance to show you, Simon, and everyone else, but I'm wearing something special. I usually try to wear something or make something special to like flavor of the channel that I was invited to be with. So today I'm wearing a Ganesh shirt.
Oh, wow. That's gorgeous. I love that top.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like baby Ganesh as well.
Yeah, it's super cute.
Yeah. That is. Have you got the Ganesian Village tarot?
I don't have that one.
No, I know that one's a little bit expensive to get from overseas because it comes from Thailand. But it's a beautiful.
It's really pretty.
Beautiful deck.
Yeah, I guess for a taste, I'm not so much into the cutesy.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
I like it, but not for me.
No, that's interesting because when we get to paper and plastic, that's that's one of the questions. So, are there any particular cards that you look out for when you're deciding to buy a deck? If you watch a walkthrough, do you have any kind of deal breakers?
I don't really have any deal breakers in terms of cards, but if there's imagery that's like obviously racist to me, or like things that are shouldn't be in a deck, I don't want it, but the cards I kind of look for are the Empress, because that's my birth card.
Okay.
And Six of Wands, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet that's a pretty important card. Do you have a significator? Do you tend to
like who I am in the deck?
Yeah, and sometimes people use that and shuffle that in. Well, obviously it's not shuffled into the deck because you're shuffling the deck, but the card that comes either side of it is how I tend to do readings if I'm looking for something that's personal. I use Page of Cups as my significator card because that's linked to my
I think
Myers-Briggs.
I would probably be. Sorry, my internet went very weird. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly. It's all
Okay.
fine this end.
So I would guess that I'm like the King of Wands.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very,
You
very.
obviously have a lot of wands, fiery energy.
Yes. I just had my chart done by Samantha Menzo, and I'm like so much fire. So
Really?
much fire. With a Taurus moon. So yeah. Interesting. But I really like challenges and like leading people, and like I lead a team at my job, and finishing projects, and just have a lot of passion for what I do. I put a lot of work into everything I do. So I think probably King of Wands. I don't think I'm King of Pentacles. I'm a little bit too.
Yeah, certainly sounds like King of Wands. So would you say you're a kind of completer finisher?
Yes, very much so.
Rather than have lots of projects up in the air, you like to focus and complete and finish and then move on.
Yeah, I warn people at work because if someone comes to me with a problem, I say, "Do you want this fixed?" Because if you don't want this fixed, do not talk to me, because I will work on it until it's fixed. Like I will fix it, and I'll fix it fast.
Yeah, that's good. So, and the other concept, I suppose, is in time or through time. Are you aware of that concept? So, doing things in time is like, you'll put it off and then the deadline appears and you just kind of do it, or through time is very sort of paced and methodical. So you do it as you go rather than last minute. And
No, I'm like pretty much riding a horse at full tilt all the
time. That's cool. Oh, and then Emma says maybe Queen of Wands if it's more directed creatively too.
Yes. King of Wands might be aspirational. Queen of Wands might be a little more on the nose.
Yeah. And Rosemary, hello, Rosemary, says, what is the specific name of the library app? It's Libib, Libib. So Libib. Yeah, and it's really, really cool. Oh, and Jackie's just popped it there. So that's how it's spelled. So that's your significator cards. Do you have any particular favorite cards other than the Six of Wands?
I like all the cards, Simon. I like all the decks.
That's great.
I like all the cards. It's really hard to get to nail me down to a favorite anything.
Okay.
My favorite color is green.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Favorite color is green. Okay.
But yeah, I love all the cards. I love the challenging cards for what they represent. I love the happy cards for what they represent. The more staid, boring cards, I like them all because I've lived all those things. We all have, right?
Absolutely. And that's what I've always said, well, not just me, most people into tarot will say, it's 78 aspects of your personality and who you are,
I can't
it's
really
78
pick.
degrees of life. And yeah, exactly. Okay, so you mentioned challenging cards. Any that you find particularly challenging?
The cards that I find particularly challenging, I actually don't find the Tower challenging because I'm like, ooh, things are going to get shaken up. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
The ones where things get stagnant are the ones that I don't like. I don't like being forced to be still. So Hanged Man and Four of Swords, like the things that are telling you, Shauna, slow down.
Yeah. I love the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is one of my favorite cards, and
I know.
the hangman on a keyring. Don't know if you remember that. I have the hermit now, but I love the hangman because when I see the hangman, it just reminds me to just look at things from a completely different perspective. You know, it's about, you know, let's turn this on its head. Let's look at things differently because, you know, there's that saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I can be very much like that. You know, this is the tried and tested way where sometimes the hangman will say, hold on a minute, press that pause button. Let's turn this on its head. Let's look at things from a different perspective to get different results. So, yeah,
Yes.
but you're absolutely right.
It's a very good card, and you know, it hits my shadow, right? It hits the
Yes.
Shauna, why don't you want to stop? Why don't you want to relax, take a break?
Yeah.
Right?
Question from Heidi is, do you read reversals?
I don't flip the cards upside down, but depending on how they come up and what I'm asking, it might be the reverse meaning of that card, right?
Okay. Yeah. So if you're putting a deck together, you make sure that they're the right way up. You don't deliberately leave them in there. But if it just turns out that way, you go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of decks then, is there anything currently that's top of your wish list? Is there something that you're like, oh, I'd love to get that? If money was no object, is there anything in particular?
Wish list. Whew. No.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. I would like the Rain Coast Oracle. I don't know if that's coming back.
Oh, I wonder. Yeah, because it was very limited, wasn't it? I've got it. I've got it here. I can't even remember how many. There's usually a card in, but I may have taken it out. But oh no, there's only 150 of these. This was number 83 of 150.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's gonna do like it because he does kind of different versions of things sometimes.
Yeah,
like that aqua tint of the Crowley, and I'm looking forward to his Illuminatariat or something like that. The one that's coming.
Yeah,
Hallucinatariat. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
That one looks good.
Christoph is always working. You know, he's as soon as the decks come out, it doesn't seem like a few months until the next deck is coming out. So yeah, he's really a hard worker, but is the gift that keeps on giving because his decks are incredible. I love them. I was going to. Oh, a thought popped into my head as well when I was talking about. Oh, that was it. Yeah. So, do you believe in the concept of soul decks? And if you do, have you found yours?
Good questions. I believe in it. I don't know if there ever will be a soul deck for me. I'm just too polyamorous with my decks.
That's great.
I love them all. It's like choosing between my children.
Yeah.
They all feed me in a different way. Like, I feel like they're all soul decks.
Okay. So like different, I know Kelly at the Truth in Story talked about it as pieces of my soul decks. But she did have a limited amount. But yeah. And, you know, even if you, I guess the important thing is you're open to the fact that there could be a soul deck, even though you haven't found it. But as long as you haven't fell into that trap of searching for it, you know.
No.
Because that can be a slippery slope as well. My views around it is, you know, if you open a deck and suddenly you get that, you know, that visceral reaction and that really in the solar plexus feeling, and then you work with it and you just have such a connection, you'll know, you know. I don't think anybody sets out to buy a deck thinking it's going to be their soul deck. I don't think that's possible or how it works. I just think it's a knowing once you've got it. You're like, yes, this is it, you know. And as much as I love my collection, and hope it never does, but if they all went up in flames, as long as I've got that soul deck, you know, I'm fine. You know, that's a nice add-on to it. So, how about 5 decks? Dreaming Willows. They're trying to put a number on you.
I really like. I could never do your like top 10 videos or like VRs because no.
Really?
I like all of my decks. I don't think I've had
Yeah. Oh, are you still there? Oh, you're back. Yeah, you just got stuck there for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where did
you're
I get
back.
stuck? What was I saying?
You were saying about you were talking about the soul decks and the fact that,
Yeah.
there's lots of different ones and it doesn't have to be honed down to one, wasn't it?
Yeah. I
Top 5
just
decks you
can't
can't
pick.
live without, yeah.
And I answered this in another live, or she asked, and I said, honestly, if they all disappeared, I'd be fine because I know I have a lot of decks and stuff, but I'm actually not a stuff person. I'm an experiences person. So if I have the choice between a thing or an experience, I'm always going to pick the experience.
And do you see what Jackie's done? They're really trying to get you to do some sort of video about where you've got top this or top that. So
I
top
might be
5
able to
Six
do
of
that.
Wands cards.
Yeah, I might be able to pick my favorite art and Six of Wands cards. That might be a possibility, but
That's a good idea. I
yeah.
like that. So do you combine, or should I say, do you use any other spiritual tools? I know you said that you don't really want to look into Lenormand, but I wondered if you used anything like runes or ogham, or do you use crystals or any other spiritual tools? And if you do you combine them with your divinatory readings or
I
your spiritual
I
practice?
don't I don't. I
And that's
don't have
okay.
crystals. Um, I don't use any other divinatory systems. I mostly use tarot as like a psychological exploration, right? Like,
Right. See what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just sort of feel and experience my spiritual life. I'm just
Yeah.
in the moment of it and reflecting on things and feeling energy and all that kind of thing. It's very, very vague and loose.
And
Yeah.
that's the best way. So let's just explore that a little bit then. So you've already said you do class yourself as a spiritual person. You've always been a spiritual person. Are you able to kind of define what that spiritual belief is? And I don't, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to give it a label, but how do you define yourself spiritually?
Well, I believe that this life is a gift, and I believe that everyone has divinity in them, some sort of thing that's beyond this flesh and bones that we are in. Um, Soul, whatever that is, whatever
Mm,
words you use for that, and that we should love one another and care for one another and care for our planet. And if you feel someone is in pain and hurting, you should reach out and help however you can. And you shouldn't cause that pain and hurt. And if you do, you need to, rectify that, make
mm.
amends. That's really how I live my life.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. It's a perfect way to live your life. And again, it goes back to the cause and effect, doesn't it? Because what you put out there comes back. But that's not certainly not for me. When I talk about cause and effect, it's not about living in fear that something's going to come back to me. It's that desire, that want to put out something that's positive.
Yes.
It just makes for a better home life, a better work life, a better environment that you're in, because if you are putting that out and you're receiving that back, and it can be tested really simply, just by being in a busy supermarket and smiling at a random stranger, not in a creepy way,
Yes.
but just a smile, and you see that instant reaction, that smile back,
Yes.
and
I do that instinctively. I don't even think about it.
yeah.
And I've had, people just like start crying or like give me a hug, or they're like, no one sees me.
Yeah.
I've had that experience, or random people being like, are you an angel? No, I'm just friendly.
Yeah, but it's really impactful, and it costs nothing. But I don't know, some people do go through life feeling really invisible, for whatever reason that is. There's a lot of lonely people on this planet, and just a kind word or a kind gesture or a smile can really, change somebody's day and how they feel about themselves. So
Yeah,
we should
and I
never,
try to do that. I always try to do that. I always try to make someone's day better because I was in it, not worse.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
my goal in life.
Yeah, and the ripple effect from that, because if then you've lifted somebody else up to feel better,
Yes.
then that has that ripple effect
And then
outwards.
they do
So
it to others, and
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I find actually breaking patterns. Now I sound like, I know you don't watch Game of Thrones, but I sound like Daenerys, breaker of chains, breaker of the wheel. But I like to break those negative patterns. So if I get a new employee that I can see is very negative about work, or having self-confidence issues and stuff like that, I do things to them that make the pattern break. And it's so cool to watch it change and them love their work and love themselves. It's just the coolest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny when you just like, I know you don't watch Game of Thrones. I was like, how? I don't remember. I was going to tease you then and say, oh, actually, since 2018, I've become addicted to it, and I've watched
Yeah.
every episode, but I haven't.
I know you haven't.
Some things still stay the same.
And it's okay.
Yeah. Gerald says, seeing people is so important when working at a library. Many people who need libraries don't feel seen. Yeah, I'd imagine that. The library is a
100%.
great place to go if if you are feeling like that. I mean, you're gonna meet like-minded people, but all the resources that are there and the books and things. And I just read that one. Sure, I've just seen another one in
Yeah, a
capitals.
lot of what I do with customers is just holding space for
Yeah.
them. I feel like a social worker, counselor most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Talking of libraries, are you much of a book person?
Oh, yes.
You are?
Yes, I love books.
So I'll just say that because Facebook users sometimes, because I can't see the name, I just want to say hello generally to those that are watching from the Hermit's Cave Facebook group. So in terms of books, what's your all-time favorite book? I know you don't like to do favorites.
I do have a favorite book.
Oh, okay.
Which is hilarious because, I've read, highbrow and all of that. But my absolute favorite book that I've read more times than I could count anymore is The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery, the same author that wrote Anne of Green Gables.
Oh.
It's an awesome story. And
Is it?
I identified with the character in that story. She was kind of awkward looking, plain growing up, didn't fit in, picked on, bullied when she was young. And then she has like a fluttering in her heart. And so she goes to the doctor to have it checked out. And it's set like in the late 1800s, early 1900s. He sends her a letter and says, I'm very sorry to inform you, but you have a congenital heart problem, and you could go at any time. And then she decides to just live her life. And her life just opens up in the most amazing ways.
Oh, I need to read this book.
It's
Do you know,
such a good book.
this reminds me, the story, the premise, and I talked about my favorite book being The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. He also wrote a book called Veronica Decides to Die. But it's about somebody who attempts to makes an attempt on their life, but survives, but is told by the doctor that irreparable damage is done, and has so long to live as a result of that, and actually completely transforms their life and lives in the moment. And I won't spoil the ending.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the ending of my book
Yeah,
either. But there's some twists and turns.
Absolutely.
It's a good read, and it is not a long read, and it's aimed at like young adult level.
Yeah.
So
The Blue Castle.
It's very good.
Did you say the Blue Castle?
The Blue Castle, L.M. Montgomery, Lucy Maud Montgomery.
Yeah, Anna Green Gables is great. I've never read the book, but I saw the 1990s TV show of that, and I know there's a one on Netflix
with
that
Megan
told
Follows.
Yes.
Yeah, that is my favorite Anna Green Gables.
It was wonderful. I loved it.
I thought I was Anna Green Gables when I was a child. I was skinny. I had very red hair, froofy red hair, and freckles everywhere.
Wow.
And I always spoke with words that were way too big.
So, do you have any favorite tarot books that you would recommend to somebody, or is that not anything you've got into yet?
Yeah, I really enjoyed, I think it's called Tarot in 10 Minutes. I can't remember the author now, but it's really good because what it does is it goes through all the interactions between cards as well. And it's like all those big life questions. So you go through it for yourself with all the big life questions and do your shuffles and draws. And then it's got an answer key for like how all the different cards interact. It's really cool.
That does sound cool. What is it called again?
Tarot in 10 Minutes.
10 Minutes.
It's an old book. I
I
got it from the library.
Did you?
Yeah. Another one I really enjoyed, which was a recommendation from you, was Wtf Is Tarot.
Yes. Bakra Wintner. Yeah,
That's a very
great
good book. And I'm working through 78 Degrees of Wisdom, and Rachel Pollack is like the cat's pajamas. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, for the WTF Is Tarot was the book that made me change my opinion of the court cards in particular. Because for years I really struggled with the court cards, but the fact that the way she described them and linked them to kind of like a family unit, and she just described a home scene, didn't she? And the kind of house they would live in and all that. And I just, this is a really cool concept. And now it still kind of sticks in my mind and it changed the way I read with court cards. So
it's a great book. I love it. And it's like that thick, like it's not a
and her personal experiences and the anecdotes she shares with cards is just really, really great book. I always shout about it. Dreamy Willow says love WTF book. Okay, so we'll move on to some of the deeper questions now. Then I like to go to. You'll be aware of what they are. So if you could go back to your 16-year-old self, what advice or conversations would you be having?
I would tell my 16-year-old self, you're good enough.
Yeah.
Because so many of the bad decisions I made in my life are because I didn't feel good enough.
Yeah. How would you get your 16-year-old self to believe that, though? Because
if I came back as me now and she saw me, she'd believe it.
I guess, yeah.
She'd be like, holy cow, I like leveled up.
What do I need to do? Tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I grew out of my awkward giant teeth and scrawny body and all of that. Yeah, no, I would say, like, you are so loved and you have so many people in your life that adore you. Just be you and put your light out there, and don't dim it because you're afraid of what other people will think. The people who are drawn to it will come. And the ones that aren't, doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that's a biggie. Those who aren't, doesn't matter. You as long as you're being yourself and you're being true to yourself, you're absolutely right. We attracts like. And those who try and change you or pigeonhole you or want you to be something that you're not to fit in with them, they're the ones that you just have to allow to move on by. But that's hard. That's a hard lesson to learn, I think, sometimes. And you have to experience it a
Yeah.
few times, don't you, to really get to that place. So I know you're still relatively new on your tarot journey, but what would you say is the greatest lesson the tarot has taught you so far?
Oh, that I'm not perfect. No. It's really opened up a lot of shadow for me. Which was like surprising things that I was doing, I didn't realize I was doing, behaviors that I had, I didn't realize I had, that hurt others, hurt myself. It's been really, really like eye-opening. And me being the person who enjoys towers is like, okay, let's work on this. Let's fix this. Now that I have the knowledge, let's understand why I'm doing that. Let's get to the bottom of that and change it if we can.
Yeah, perfect. And the dinner guest question. So you can have it's a fantasy dinner party that you're having. It can be anybody dead or alive, but you've got your guest of honor and two other guests. Who would
Who
you
would I
choose
have?
and why? Yeah.
I would have my grandpa Dick for sure. He passed away suddenly in 1996, and he was a very stable person in my life. I would definitely have him. Very, very special person to me and to my whole family. I think I'd like Paul McCartney to come. So I'm a huge fan of his music.
Yay.
And probably a politician of some sort. I have a degree in political science.
Oh, do you?
So that's an interest to me. Maybe like, or an activist like Gandhi, someone who, or Nelson Mandela, or someone who's
Oh,
lived
cool.
a very influential life.
Yeah. Wow, that'd be quite a mix.
I'd want to
Yeah,
pick. I'd
somebody
want to
very
pick their
personal.
brains
Yeah,
and just hug my
yeah,
grandpa a lot.
yeah. But I mean, it just sounds like, three great teachers, and with your love of music as well. Are you into the Beatles?
I love the Beatles.
Ah,
The
have you ever
band
been to the UK?
one of the bands last night played some Beatles tunes, and they were really good.
Really?
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
never been across the pond. I have never left North America.
Wow.
It's a
Uh,
dream of mine. I would very much want to go over there. So
yeah. Well, if you ever do, then obviously Liverpool, and there's so much Beatles stuff you can do. But you can even go into John Lennon's house where he lived with Aunt Mimi, and you walk round the corner to Paul McCartney's and go in. They're both owned by the National Trust now. But they are, well, Paul McCartney's is a replica because people lived in it after him, whereas Aunt Mimi's house, everything that's in there is authentic. Even like the salt and pepper pot on the
wow.
table is Aunt Mimi's because Yoko Ono had everything kept in storage and then she donated everything to the National Trust. So you have shivers when you go in there and you go into that little porch area where they used to practice because the acoustics were so good. And you're standing there thinking, I'm standing exactly where some of the greatest songs of all time were created, So, yeah, it's
And
amazing.
you
So,
hear their influence in music still. Like you're like,
absolutely.
oh, that is totally a Beatles reference right there. Like in modern stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Have you seen, is it the movie, is it called Yesterday? I can't remember, where everyone forgot about the Beatles except for
Yeah,
one guy.
something happens, doesn't it? Was he in an accident or something? But in his world,
Yeah.
nobody else on the planet, or so he thinks,
Yeah.
is aware of the Beatles. So he starts performing all the songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good film.
I lost it when he went and saw John Lennon. That was like
Yeah.
too
Have you
much.
ever seen Nowhere Boy,
I
the
don't think I
film?
have.
Nowhere Boy is a fantastic film. It's about John Lennon's early life
Oh wait,
up
I think I
until,
have. I think I have seen that
have you?
movie. Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it. I might watch that tonight. I was thinking about putting a film on tonight. I'm in the mood now for Nowhere Boy.
Is it within the last 20 years? That movie?
Yes,
Yeah,
probably
I
about
have
10
seen that
years
one.
ago.
I just
Yeah,
couldn't remember that that's what it was called. It was really good.
Yeah, it is. It's so good, but it's so sad as well
Yes.
because it takes you up until the point of the Beatles becoming famous,
Yeah.
but it's about his life with his mother and how she was killed, and then
Yeah,
his
so
relationship with
sad.
Aunt Mimi, and yeah, it is. But it's so well done. I wish they'd kind of make a sequel. But I wanted to carry on and become like a series of films of his life, but um. Okay, so final question then is before we do paper plastic and talk about your deck. Um, where would you like to take your channel next? Anything coming up that you want to tell people about? So your chance to
Anything
promote,
coming up?
really.
Well, I'm gonna try to do that VR balance the wheel soon.
Oh yes, you said about that. Yeah.
I'm going to trim my Mythic Tarot and back it in like a bronze backing.
Oh,
Yeah, and I got a
nice.
case for it. Oh, it's right here. Just recently, I put the
Oh, I
Empress
like
on it.
that.
So I'm
That's
really
so cool.
excited to do
Let
that.
me just make you bigger for a second so people can get a good look at that. Look at
It's a
that.
pencil case, but it works great because it
That's
came with,
come out really clear as well, hasn't it?
yeah, and it was just photographed the card, but it was the set that came with the reading cloth. So there's two compartments. The reading cloth's in the top compartment, and then the cards are in the bottom compartment.
That is such a cool idea.
Yeah. Whoops.
I love that. Wow.
So yeah,
Beautiful.
that's coming. So many things are coming, but they take time.
Yeah, they do. Especially
And
for you guys in Canada. All right, you ready to play paper or plastic?
I'm ready. Hit me.
Paper or plastic?
Paper
Oracle or tarot?
and tarot, probably.
YouTube or Instagram?
YouTube.
Peanut butter or jelly?
Jelly.
Big parties or small gatherings?
Small gatherings.
Waite or Crowley?
Oh, wait.
Bath or shower?
Bath.
Bordered or borderless?
Borderless.
Dark, I know this answer now. Dark and creepy or rainbows and unicorns?
Dark and creepy.
Indie or mass market?
Both. Do I have to pick?
Yeah. Mm,
I like
yeah.
them both.
Which do you have a preference?
Mass market are cheaper and easier to come by. Indie are more expensive.
So mass market.
Mass market, sometimes they're nicer than the indie. Indie,
That's true.
sometimes they're nicer than the mass market. It depends on the decks.
Okay. Tablet or PC?
PC.
Save or spend?
Spend.
Especially right now. Money or free time?
Free time.
Phone calls or FaceTime?
Ooh, FaceTime.
Movies at home or in the cinema?
In the cinema.
Large or small cards?
Large cards.
Life after death or total extinction?
I'd like to believe in life after death.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Woodland forests or sandy beaches?
Woodland forests.
Toilet roll hanging over or under?
Can I plead the fifth? Over.
Over, Shauna. I don't know. I am in a minority when it comes to this. The more
Yes.
people now that I interview that say over, it's like so alien to me. But anyway, I'm going to pull a card while I'm shuffling the deck. Do you want to talk about a deck that you're really enjoying using right now? That's kind of vying for your attention over all the others.
Speaking of rainbows and unicorns are dark and creepy.
Oh, the Crowley.
I have a tarot the Tarot of Crowley by Christoph James. And what's funny about this is it's an RWS deck.
Yeah, he'd be spinning, wouldn't he?
Yes, but I kind of love that because I think he deserves it. I get the feeling he wasn't a great guy. No, he had some issues, but I love this deck. It is super creepy. It's a collage style deck. There's lots of Crowley at different ages. I don't know if
there's so much detail in there as well.
Are going to be able to see all the detail. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of detail.
This one's cool. There's like a clock in his head, at the top of his head.
Yeah.
Like you could look at these all day and see something new. Like, look, there's some random person in the window.
Exactly. The cards with houses on them as well. There's just, you look through every window and you see something.
What does the typewriter say?
Symbology.
Do what thou wilt is what's written on the paper above the typewriter. Like there's just so much detail in these cards. But the creepiest cards are the pages, because they have clowns and these clowns look really menacing.
Yeah,
very menacing clowns. They're not.
Susie's asking if it's mass market. It's not. They're available by Christoph James from Raincoast Tarot. So if you go to Raincoast Tarot or put that into Google, not sure. He does very limited editions of his decks. Yes. There is a colorized version as well that was released a couple of months ago.
I think this black and white one might be done.
Is it?
But the colored one's available. I also did. He did a PDF guide to this deck, and I printed it off into a book.
Yeah. Oh wow, mine's just in a folder, but that's come out nice. And who was that with?
Presto Photo.
Oh, okay. That's a good
idea. It turned out pretty good.
But I like it because you can see the cards bigger. So you can see more detail. And it talks about some of the individuals that are in the cards and stuff too. So what I like about Christoph is he doesn't charge shipping.
Oh, really? That's
He's got
cool.
a free shipping worldwide, I do believe. So
excellent. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for showing that, and it's a great deck. I have it. I've used it lots, and it's there's so much symbolism and detail in there. You can spend a long time studying those cards. All right, so we've got the Four of Cups. Let me just get that in there. Four of Cups. So I guess for me, with the Four of Cups, it's about the balance, because there may be times when we really have to go inwards and focus on ourselves, but we also need to be mindful that we shouldn't get into that state of self-absorption, and maybe we've got to that point where we need to do that because we've spent so much time looking out for other people and putting their needs before our own. So we need to go inward so that we can become stronger. I guess that's the balance between that being too inwardly focused and too self-absorbed that we're then neglecting relationships, friendships, or work commitments and things like that. So that's the balance for me. But it's fine to take that break, to go inwards, to gain strength, because only then, when we feel stronger, can we then give to other people. We can't keep giving of ourselves when we feel depleted. So it's about getting our reserves back up and feeling stronger. And then when the time is right, not to return to those old habits, of constantly putting other people first. It's remembering that balance and keeping that balance, really. So we can only be equipped to. I just love how that little cup it's got wings and it's flying. We're used to seeing it coming out of the clouds, but it's a really cute card. So do the work on you is the message for the week, but You know, make sure there's that healthy balance there, and you know, it's fine to take that break and work on ourselves and get stronger. But when we come out of that, let's not slip back to those old ways of just giving, and not also making sure that we're okay, you know, and checking in with ourselves, particularly on emotional level, because that can be draining as well. Shauna, thank you for being my guest. This hour and a half always flies by so quickly, but you was an absolute delight to sit and have a chat with. Good luck with your channel and enjoy your journey, because it's a wonderful journey. And I love how you've already ingratiated yourself with community, and long may that continue. Everybody watching, do go and give Shauna a sub. You won't regret it. It's a lovely, lovely channel. Yeah, and just thank you for being here. Anything finally you want to say before we close up?
Just thank you so much, Simon, for having me on your channel. It was like one of my dreams that just came true.
You're welcome.
And I want to tell everyone out there, if you have something you want, like, go for it. What are you waiting for? Just go for it.
Yeah, it's the only way it will happen.
Yes.
If you go for it.
It's not just going to land in your lap. You got to put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully put. Thank you, Sean. If you just stay on at the end, and I'll just you'll just have a few words. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Lovely turnout. Thank you for your questions. I hope I caught them all. Apologies if I didn't. But yeah, I'll be back in the week. I've got a few little videos to do. Oh, the draw.
Yeah, people get stuff.
Yes, the giveaways. Almost forgot. I just looked to the side and I saw these decks. So I asked Shauna if she would help me pull the names, because I have everybody's names here written down. So this is from a couple of weeks ago. The first deck is the Seed and Sickle Oracle, which is newly released by Liminal 11. It's only just been out in the last month, but they were so kind to send me a limited edition one, so I decided to do a giveaway. And we had 41 entries for Seeds and Sickle. So Shauna, if you can give me a number between 1 and 41, then that will be the winner of that deck.
Okay, I'm going to go with number 2.
Number 2 is Candy, Soul and Soil.
Yay!
So Candy, Soul and Soil is number 2. So congratulations, Candy. Hope you watch this back so that you can, well, I'll drop her a message anyway. And then the second deck that we're giving away is the New Chapter Tarot, and this, I love this. This is a fantastic deck. We only had 20. Well, I say only. We had 25 entries for this. So again, if you can give me a number between 1 and 25, please.
I'm going to go with 11 for Liminal 11.
Okay, so 11 is Shelby H. So Shelby H is number 11. So Shelby,
close.
She was 10. Yeah.
Sorry, Richie.
So congratulations to both Candy and Shelby. Just if you're watching this back, Shelby, just drop me a message. My email is, I'll pop it up here. That's my email. So drop me an email with your address. Same, Candy, if you're watching this, and I will get them out in the post to you. So thank you for doing that for me, Shauna.
No problem.
And yeah, and take care, everybody. Until next time, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.